But good morning, and glad to see all of you here this morning. Always a question, what kind of a turnout we get, because we've had evening meetings for this district, so this is kind of a new deal here. Just some preliminary, if you need the restrooms, past the front door, down the hall to your left, okay? So coffee, donuts, feel free to help yourself. It doesn't bother me if you get up and have coffee, because I might do the same. But we're glad you're here this morning. My name is Sid Wisness, Director of District 8, and I'm thankful for serving as your district director for the past 15 years. It has been a real honor for me to represent District 8 for the past 15 years. As many of you are aware, I am unable to run for the director position again because the term limit of our co-op directors, which is 15 years, that's 5 3-year terms, and you have to step down, retire. I'm looking forward to that as well. There was never a day that I took the responsibility of representing this district lightly. I have been blessed to have had the opportunity to work and to make decisions alongside of the other directors representing the 9 districts of Lake Region Electric over the past 15 years. It is my sincere hope that you will all feel that your voices have been heard and your board has made decisions that have advanced the objectives of the cooperative. I will miss being your director. I will miss the monthly meetings, the robust discussions regarding the ever-changing industry, and the constant learning that is required to serve as an effective director. I'm thankful for the support you've all provided me throughout the years, and we all hope that the next director for District 8 will cherish all of the rewarding experiences of being a director for this co-op, and I'm sure that'll be the case. I'd like to welcome those of you that are here in person, those of you are joining us virtually for your district meeting. If you are joining us virtually, please use the chat feature available at any time during the meeting if you have any questions. We will be responding to questions from those of you that are here in person or live streaming at the end of Tim Thompson's presentation. If you do not get to your question today for whatever reason, please be assured that an employee from Lake Region will follow up with you in the coming days. I would also ask and emphasize that if you have a question here, we're going to have some what I call roving mics. Employees will have a mic, so we want you to use the mic, speak into it, and that way it gets recorded properly. Otherwise, we don't always pick it up. So if you do that, that'd be great. Thank you for that. A gathering like this, a district meeting, drives home the point that Lake Region is different from other utilities. We're different because we put our members at the center of everything that we do and decide. We continue to enter exciting times in our cooperative's history. And I emphasize that because my first few years with the utility, totally different than it is today. We're in a changing world. I'm excited to announce that we are once again holding 3 personal annual locations for the meetings this year. One at the Life Church in Fergus Falls, one at the Frazee Event Center, and one at the Prairie Event Center in Parker's Prairie, just as we did last year. The annual meeting date has been scheduled a bit earlier, so mark your calendars. This year will take place on April 13th at 6:30. That's the meeting, and the meal is before that. And as in the past years, members will also be able to live stream the annual meeting as well. Continuing with an important milestone for Lake Region, I'm honored to be part of a cooperative that received national recognition by being presented with the annual 2022 National Rural Electric Cooperative Association Cooperative Purpose Award. This award recognizes electric cooperatives that work with their membership to make outstanding contributions. which result in visible, lasting improvements in the quality of life and the purpose of the cooperative in the community. For Lake Region to receive this award is great news. But I think it's even better that our peers on the board of the directors of the Minnesota Rural Electric Association, which we're a member, consisting of representatives from other Minnesota cooperatives, nominated our co-op for the reward, which is great recognition for Lake Region Electric. Shifting now to rates a bit, Lake Region members have had rate stability for several years, seeing only one general service rate increase in the past decade, but we know that rising costs require us to generate more revenue beginning this year for our load management members. We increased your rates effective at the beginning of this year, and we hope that we will provide you with plenty of notice of the increase through our newsletters and other forms of communication, so it's not a surprise to you. Your board of directors has approved other general service rate changes that will go into effect in September, and these changes will be explained in more depth during Tim Thompson's, our CEO's, presentation this morning. He'll do a great job in explaining the rate change to you. We continue to be good stewards of the hard-earned money entrusted to us by our members, and an example of this is our administrative and general costs are lower today than they were 15 years ago. And the strategic actions taken by the co-op have provided rate stability for several years, with members experiencing only one general service increase in the last decade. A large portion of this rate stability is the result of the co-op being creative with generating new revenue streams from the natural gas company, acquiring an ownership and interest in Carr's tree service, the wind solar hybrid project, and the standby generator program. Tim will also talk more about these revenue streams in his presentation. Please be assured that our focus remains on doing everything we can to minimize the impact on your rates during these times that we are seeing rising costs of so many other things that we rely upon in our daily lives. New technology continues to be adopted and incorporated by Lake Region to assure our members the most reliable service we can provide. I would like to thank our employees who have made it a priority to engage with and listen to our members. Lake Region wouldn't be in business if not for all of you, our member owner consumers. You are the reason for our existence, and you share in our success. We have made it a priority to continue to look for ways to transform member experience with Lake Region. I would like to recognize the Lake Region celebrated its 85th anniversary last year. A celebration last fall was dedicated to the men and women, past, present, and future, that strive to serve the membership of Lake Region Electric Cooperative. I would like to thank all of you as members, directors, and employees for staying engaged and working together to continue to move forward the great cooperative started so many years ago by the hard-working visionary customers back in 1937. Our meeting today is to nominate a candidate for director. We need a meeting chair for this district meeting to preside over the nomination. I would propose that our attorney, Chad Felstool, be the meeting chair for the district meeting, unless some of you have a burning desire to do that. Is there anyone that'd like to do that? Okay, thank you. Hearing none, we'll use Chad as our chairman of the nominating process. I'm glad you could join us to learn more about Lake Region Electric Cooperative and participate in local democracy by participating in the nominating process. Before we begin that, like to introduce the rest of the board members. Their picture and district are listed on the screen. However, I would also like to ask those directors that are here, as I call your name, that you would stand so that any potential nominees would know who you are. You may not look like you look on the screen, okay? Kurt Kruger from ROTC area. He's our Secretary Treasurer of the board, okay? Thank you, Kurt. You can have a seat. Cecil Bud Hensel, he's here, back there. He's from the Frazee area, District 2. Mike Brazel is not with us. He's in the upper right there, District 3. He's also our GRE board member that sits on the GRE board, or a power supplier. Earl Rydell from Dent, District 4. Thank you. Patrick Myers from the Cormorant area, District 5. And he had a district meeting yesterday, and it was a winter wonderland up there. It was awesome. I enjoyed the drive up and back. So if you ever want to see something, take a drive up there. You won't miss it. It's like being in Lake Tahoe. Charlie Blix from the Pelican Rapids area, District 6, way back there. Yeah, thank you. Tom Jenin, Fergus Falls area, District 7. He's our board chair. And Gary Olson from Parker's Prairie, who's not with us today, District 9. So our meeting now continues with the nomination process, and I'll call on Chad to come forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Sid. Good morning. There are two ways that an individual can be nominated to be a candidate for a director position on the board of directors. The first way is through the nomination process, which is the reason you are all here today. If there are more than 2 nominees today, we will hold a vote today, and the highest 2 vote getters will be placed on the ballot for the annual meeting in April. If there are 2 or less nominees, then both those individuals will go on the ballot for the annual meeting in April. So the first way, like I said, to get on nominated for the board of directors is through the district meeting process, which is why you're here today. The second way is through a petition process that happens after the district meeting. The petition process requires that an individual get at least 50 signatures from this district in order to be placed on the ballot. There are other requirements for the petition process that are found in our bylaws in Article 4, Section 4.4b. As chairman for the district meeting, I have appointed Greg Larson as the recording secretary. Sid has also strong-armed Richard Ackerman, and Richard McCallson as tellers in case a vote is needed. Since there are more than 10 members of this district in attendance, I declare that we have a quorum. Now, when you make a nomination for a director position, we would ask that you speak clearly, identifying yourself, spelling your name, as well as stating and spelling the name of the individual that you are nominating for the director position. You can either nominate yourself or you can have someone nominate you. Are there any questions about the nomination process? Hearing none, I declare the nomination process to be open. Again, when you make the nomination, state and spell your name as well as the name of the individual that you are nominating. According to our bylaws, the nomination process has to be open for 2 minutes. The time clock on the screen will count down for us. This will be a long 2 minutes, I can guarantee you that. It is shorter than the 3 minutes that we had to do 3 or 4 years ago, and we changed our bylaws because we realized 3 minutes was maybe a little too long. So now we only have to sit here for 2 minutes. So the nomination process is open. Are there any nominations for the director position in this district? Yes, sir.
Rick Pulford, R-I-C-K-P-U-L-F-O-R-D, who would like to nominate Jim Gronbeck, J-I-M-G-R-O-N-B-E-C-K.
Thank you, Rick. Jim Gronbeck has been nominated. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? If there are no other nominations, I would ask for a motion to close the nominations for this district. Is someone willing to make that motion? Yes, sir.
So moved.
What is your name, sir?
Ken Herbranson.
Thank you, Ken. Is there a second to Ken's motion?
I'll second.
All right, thank you, Richard. It's been moved and seconded that nominations for this district to be closed. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries. Both Richards are off the hook. They don't have to be tellers. Jim, would you please stand? To the best of your knowledge, do you meet the qualifications to be a director for this district? If so, please answer yes.
Yes.
Jim, would you like to come up and say a few words? I put you on the spot. You really didn't have a choice. Knowing that, 3 minutes or less.
You're asking a retired pastor. I am honored to have been asked to be a part of this and to be nominated, and I'm looking forward to it. I guess I've been a part of Lake Region or interested in Lake Region since the late 70s when I was hired by Vern Court as a summer meter reader for Lake Region. And so I did the eastern half of the territory and knew those areas pretty well. I'm sure it's changed a lot. But I've been a member of Lake Region for the past 32 years, living up on Twin Lake by Amor. I retired from Zion Lutheran Church of Amor in June of last year. Anything else? Okay.
Thank you, Jim. Since only one candidate has been nominated, we don't have to have a vote today, like I said. Again, if there is another candidate that goes through the petition process, both that individual who goes through the petition process and Jim will be placed on the ballot at the annual meeting in April. If there is no individual that comes forward for the petition process in the next 30 days, then Jim will be placed on the ballot for the annual meeting in April and will be elected by acclamation, and there won't be a vote needed. Now, I would like to invite our CEO, Tim Thompson, to give his remarks. Tim?
Thank you, Chad. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here this morning to participate in your district meetings. These district meetings are such an important part of our cooperative. It's just a great opportunity for members to come together at the grassroots level and be participating in the director process here. Great opportunity to visit with your board of directors, our wonderful team of employees who are here this morning. And I just want to say I love these meetings. They're very motivating to me. They're very motivating to us. The opportunity to be together with members and then to go back to our jobs and continue to work hard for you, continue to build the future of this co-op that will serve you well into the future. So you being here means a lot to us, and we just want to thank you for that. I'd like to start off this morning talking about, if the clicker worked, there we go, talking about member engagement. Member engagement is really an important part of an electric cooperative. This meeting is a great example of member engagement. But the last couple of years, we've been reaching out more and more to members Here's a couple of opportunities for member engagement: our coffee with the co-op program, our apps and chats. These are events where we'll just schedule a time at a local restaurant, a local cafe, out in your neck of the woods, out in your neighborhood. Invite you in, have a cup of coffee and a roll. Just talk about things going on at Lake Region or the energy industry, anything on your mind. Just a great opportunity to engage. The dots there on the map, that's our electric service territory. We're trying to reach out to all parts of our territory. Each one of those dots represents some form of member engagement that we have had in the last couple of years. Another opportunity for member engagement is our virtual member advisory council or committee. This committee, much like a traditional committee, but it's virtual. We use a private Facebook account and to communicate with a group of volunteer members who are part of this committee. We share a lot of information. We ask them a lot of questions for feedback. That feedback informs our strategic thinking and our strategic planning at Lake Region. One of the questions that we like to ask people is, do you consider yourself a member or a customer? And if people view themselves as a member of the cooperative instead of just a customer, their satisfaction with their cooperative is much higher. Again, the map showing just the locations of where the members live who have served on that committee, again, well represented across our large service territory. One of the best opportunities to be engaged with a cooperative is our annual meeting. As Sid mentioned, that's going to be a little earlier this year, April 13th there. And last year, we really tried to up our game with our annual meeting. Instead of just having the one primary site in Fergus Falls, with our technology today, we have 2 other satellite locations, one in Frazee, one in Parker's Prairie. We can live stream the event into those 2 areas. With those 3 locations now, 98% of our members live within 25 miles of one of those 3 locations. We also have the virtual option for members who can't be there in person. Last year we had over 1,200 people attend our annual meeting, either in person or virtually. We hope to repeat that again here in 2023. We've added a new member opportunity this year. Back when we were hunkered down with COVID, we thought, wow, when we get through this, let's do something fun for the members. So we came up with this. It's our Member Appreciation Day. It's going to be at Glendalough State Park, not too far from here on June 8th. Hopefully you can join us that day just for some food, some fun, some fellowship. We're going to have our electric bikes there, electric vehicle. You can check those types of things out. But just want to invite you all to that, June 8th. Bring your family. Bring your kids, your grandkids, whatever your situation is. We'd just love to connect with you at that Member Appreciation Day. Well, I'm very happy to share with you the results of our 2022 Member Satisfaction Survey that we had in this fall. We had over 1,200 members participate in that satisfaction survey, and we asked the members, overall, how satisfied are you with Lake Region Electric Cooperative? We scored a 9 out of 10. The green line there shows the nice upward trend in recent years in terms of our overall member satisfaction. But far and away, the best information we get out of that survey is your actual comments that you give us. We really appreciate your actual comments. We get a lot of meaningful comments back from the membership. Perhaps the most meaningful ones are the positive comments that are shared with us that are directed towards our wonderful team of employees at Lake Region. And what's really interesting when you look at those comments is how sometimes a member will even say, when I called in and talked to so-and-so, they know the employee's name, and they say things like how kind they were, or how polite they were, how helpful they were. Or when our linemen respond to that power outage, members talk about a great job, that not only the great job they did, but how personable they were. That's who we want to be. There's a lot of things in our world today we can't control, but we can control how we interact with our people and our customers and members. And that maybe is another way where we try to differentiate ourselves from other utilities. Those comments that we give back, we share them with, of course, the board of directors, our staff, and we really take those seriously, and we take those, we follow up on them if there's any issues with a member. And again, just a great way to inform our strategic planning. We also get good comments around our rates. We get good comments around reliability. And I want to talk about those 2 topics here this morning. Let's start with reliability. What this chart shows is the nice downward trend of outage times for members over the years. Back in 2004, for example, on average, a member was out of power 4.4 hours for the year. Now, these numbers do not include transmission-related storms and those types of things, or large storms. But you can see the nice trend downward. In 2022 there, on average, a member was out of power 1.8 hours, and of that 1.8, 0.45 was for a planned outage. If we've got a large project going on in your area, and it just makes sense to take the power out to complete the project because it'd be much quicker and much safer for our employees. That's an example of a planned outage where we notify you in advance. But anyway, a 57% decrease in outage times over the years. A lot of reasons for that. A lot of grid investments that we're making. I want to share some of those with you, as well as the work we're doing with our vegetation management and tree clearing program. One of the big projects in this kind of general area is the Great River Energy, GRE, our generation and transmission provider. They upgraded their Henning transmission substation. Probably can't see real good the difference here between the old and the new, but they invested about $1.2 million in the Henning substation to upgrade that here recently. That Henning substation serves 2 Lake Region substations, the Stocker Lake and the Henning substation there, that serves about 2,400 members of Lake Region. And the good news there, with this upgrade, since it's been completed, transmission-related outages have reduced from 5 per year down to 2. If we take a bigger view of our entire service territory here, these are 5 big projects that are been now completed. Again, these are transmission-related and substation-related projects. I mentioned the Henning project down here. We've also upgraded our 10-Mile Lake substation, our new Lake Eunice substation, GRE, the Frazee substation there. That was a $10 million project, major upgrade there. And then the Lake Schuster transmission substation addition that GRE built here a couple years ago. These 5 projects should all help improve reliability of our members. And I want to point out the magnitude of that. That's $22 million just for those 5 projects. About 20,000 members who are all in these green shaded areas, they should experience improved reliability now that those projects are completed. I also want to just share with you, maybe you're familiar with this project fairly close by here, what we refer to as the County Road 16 project. So if you're in this, happen to live in this lighter shaded area, hopefully you are experiencing better reliability already just from this project. It was a $677,000 project, underground cable replacement project. There's about 700 members in that lightly shaded area that should be seeing improved reliability. Just a quick statistic there, the outages in this project area have reduced from 6 per year down to 0. And with that new cable, that should continue for you. So making improvements in those weak spots that we have on our grid. This is our Distribution Grid Improvement Program, or DGIP program, as we call it. This is all about utilizing new technology, innovation, employee engagement to find the weak spots in our grid, in our territory, and make improvements in those areas. With our data analytics that we have today, we know where our worst performing circuits are on our system. We know where those areas are where members are experiencing the most outages. So we took that information and we gave that to our linemen. And they did a great job. They went out there and they looked at those areas and thought about how we could do this differently in each one of those areas to improve your reliability. These are the 10 areas, these green circles on the screen there. We've approved those projects. We were working on those projects. The lighter shaded green ones are now complete. The pinkish reddish colored ones are not. But once those all 10 are completed, there's 3,256 members that live in those circled areas that should be experiencing improved reliability as a result of these projects. I want to share with you our Exactor technology, and it is really exciting to work for a cooperative whose board of directors supports new technology designed to improve your reliability and your service. This is a good example, our Exactor technology. This technology is being used to prevent outages. If we can find a small problem on our system before it becomes a big problem on our system, that's really an advantage for us. Approximately 37% of our outages are caused by either equipment failure or unknown causes. So how this exactor technology works is, the first step here is, you see this box here, that's part of the exactor technology. That device in a vehicle traveling along the power line down the road, if it makes 4 passes along that power line, and when it's driving down the road, it's sensing that power line each time. 4 passes. Once those 4 passes are completed, it gives us information that says, you want to go to specific locations. That pole there was one location that the exactor technology directed us to and said, take a closer look at that pole. So our employees, with that handheld device, you scan it across, for example, those insulators on the top of that pole. And when you scan it, if it makes a certain sound, you know you've found a piece of equipment that's in what we call a pre-fail state. So it's not an outage yet, but that equipment is eventually going to fail fairly soon. And if we can prevent that outage, that's a win for us. So it helps with member reliability. And the other thing that's really nice about this, if we can find that bad insulator up on that pole, at that point, before it fails, and go out, our linemen can go out and fix that on a day like that. Nice, clear, calm day, no outages yet. Instead of waiting till it fails. When's it going to fail? Maybe at night, maybe during a storm. People are out of power. It's a little more stressful situation. I think this makes our co-op safer for our employees, which is wonderful. We have now scanned about 1,400 miles of our distribution system, and we'll continue to do this until we get around our entire system. This is another new technology for us. This is brand new. We don't really even have it implemented yet. But vegetation management, 22% of our outages are caused by trees. Your board of directors, for example, in our budget for 2023, increased our vegetation management budget up to $2 million per year. They've also improved this new technology. It's called AI-technology that we are going to be using to take our vegetation management program to the next level. I'd like to say we're going to go to level 2.0 with this technology. How the AI-technology works is satellite imagery of our system is captured from multiple angles. This technology monitors the clearances between the power line and the trees near the power line, ultimately creating a comprehensive tree trimming and removal plan for us. It looks at those clearances. It's going to tell us where our clearance problems exist. It's going to lay out a multiple-year plan, where we need to start, where we need to go next. It's going to estimate how much we're going to have to spend every year going forward. Just a really good overall comprehensive tree trimming program for us. We're really excited about this to start using this year. We don't have our first report back from AI- yet, but it's coming soon. And hopefully over the next few years, we can reduce those outages caused by those trees. Shifting gears just a little bit, still sticking with the reliability theme, but I want to talk about MISO. MISO, this is their winter peak forecast for us. Now, first of all, what's MISO? MISO is the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator. Think of MISO as the grid operator. Some people like to compare what MISO is to the electric grid, is what air traffic controllers are to the airline industry, if that helps. MISO is a very big area, from Minnesota, the Canadian line, down to the Gulf of Mexico, about 15 states. It's a very large area. Part of their job is to make sure that we have enough power and that's transmission so the electricity flows to where it needs to be and we have good reliability. So they put out this winter by month peak forecast for us. And what's really important about this, you probably hear too in the news or in different reports, there's a concern about, is there going to be rolling blackouts, right? Well, what have we seen in California? What have we seen in Texas? More recently, down in the Tennessee Valley Authority area, we see these rolling blackouts. So I get that question a good bit. Are we going to have rolling blackouts? Well, let's look at what the forecast for MISO says. Again, this isn't just Lake Region. This is the whole MISO area. For December, for example, the load was forecasted to be this high. So that's the level of electricity we forecasted to be using in December. Well, the capacity, you can see that's higher, which is a really good thing. This is our capacity, and this is what the forecasted load was going to be. So this difference between our capacity level and our usage level, that's called an excess reserve. And there's a certain level that needs to stay at, so we're comfortable that we have enough power on those really, really cold winter days, or once we get into the summer on those really hot days when the peak demands really, really go up. And what this shows is we do have a reasonable amount of reserve. However, that reserve has shrunk some, and that's the concern. We need to make sure as an industry going forward that we have that adequate reserve so we're comfortable and have the great reliability that we've come to know. So let's talk a little bit more about our generation, the Great River Energy generation resources that they have. Again, Great River Energy, they're a cooperative just like us. We own part of Great River Energy. They're the generation company and the transmission company. We're the local distribution company. So here are the generation resources from Great River Energy. You can see, I'm going to actually step over here for a minute so I can point to the map. The first resources I want to point out are these four circles here, the blue and purple ones. Those are 4 natural gas-fired power plants. That represents 1,400 megawatts of peaking natural gas plants. Now you will notice of these 4 circles here, 3 of them are both purple and blue. This one's just blue. So these 3 that are the purple and the blue, not only are they natural gas peaking plants, but they have on-site backup fuel oil in case there's an issue with the gas line. They've got on-site backup, so they're kind of like dual fuel units, which is a wonderful thing in terms of redundancy and reliability for us. The 4th one here, Cambridge Station, right now it's just natural gas, but GRE is in the process of upgrading that one also to a dual fuel unit where it's going to have that on-site backup fuel storage to use fuel oil in case there's any issues with the natural gas. This bigger circle here also, that is the Rainbow Purchase. What this represents is, you may recall last year, Great River Energy, can you hear me okay? I'm getting some feedback here. We good? Maybe I should just move over here, if that's okay, everybody. Is that better? Okay. The Rainbow Purchase, you may recall that last year Great River Energy sold Coal Creek Station. That's a power plant, coal-fired power plant in North Dakota. As part of that transaction, Great River Energy also agreed to buy 500 megawatts of power from Rainbow. So that power plant is in North Dakota, but it is delivered over a transmission line down into the Minnesota market, which is a really good thing. In addition to the 500 megawatts, there's another wind farm that's going to be built out in North Dakota, and GRE is going to buy 400 megawatts out of that wind farm, and that's going to be transmitted down that same transmission line down into the Minnesota market. Great River Energy also owns this coal-fired power plant right here called Spiritwood Station. It's actually a newer coal plant. It's also dual fuel. It can run off of coal or natural gas there, Spiritwood Station. In addition to that, GRE has a lot of wind resources. These colored circles here represent the locations of their wind farms. They've got about 850 megawatts of resources from wind today. They have plans to increase that to about another 1,000 megawatts by the year 2025. The yellow circle represents a small solar plant there in Minnesota. And then Lake Region. At the local level, we want to continue to look for opportunities for our members for local power generation. That'll come primarily from renewable sources, maybe wind, maybe solar. We're analyzing battery technology, things like that. We long-term want to maybe get that up to around 10% for the local type generation assets here at Lake Region. Just one more thing on the reliability, because this is so important, so important. These are close-up pictures of the 4 natural gas Great River Energy peaking plants that I mentioned. And then just a quote there at the top from David Segu. David is the CEO of Great River Energy. He says, "We have a fleet of modern natural gas plants in Minnesota that provide all hours reliability for our members." So I also get questions, what's the future going to look like? And so I want to try to talk a little bit about this energy transition that we're going through in our country, where there's a transition to cleaner resources for the generation of electricity. I'll just start with this. This is again from MISO, and that MISO footprint is generally that area where you see those dots on there. Each one of those dots represents some form of planned new generation. A lot of it is wind farms. A lot of it is solar farms. There's some natural gas-fired power plants in there. There's one coal plant in there as well. The other thing that's super important is the transmission. And there's a lot of new transmission being planned, particularly in the MISO footprint. Here's just the kind of the northern part of what's called the MISO Long Range Transmission Plan Tranche Number 1. I just wanted to show you on those blue lines there. Those represent the future transmission lines that are going to be built, and these are the very large transmission lines. These are not the ones that you see that like serve our substations. These are, for example, like the ones you see along I-94 from Fargo to Minneapolis, those newer big structures there along I-94. So I like to think of these new bulk transmission lines that are going to be built in the future. They're kind of like having a new interstate highway. And think about how that changes transportation. You can get somewhere faster, more efficiently. That's kind of what these new large transmission lines are going to do for us. There's transmission and industry congestion. These big lines will help improve that congestion that can take place on the grid. To give you a feel of the magnitude of this first tranche from these MISO projects, and there's more than just these, but it's about a $10 billion with a B level of investment. So in the future, 10 years, over the next 10 years or so, you'll see a lot more transmission, and that's really going to be key to this reliability issue to make sure we can get the electricity where it needs to be at the right time. All right, changing gears just a little bit. Let's talk about our rates, and maybe first a little bit about our history and where we are projected with our rates, because that's another good question we get from members is what's the future look like for rates? So if we go back, just look back real quickly, back in this 2006, 2012 time frame on this blue area, we were seeing increasing rates. And we started asking ourselves, what can we do differently to try to get to a period where we have rate stability, like in those green years, which we achieved. Lake Region made a lot of changes. Great River Energy made a lot of changes. And for the last decade or so, from 2013 to today, we've enjoyed relative rate stability. As Sid mentioned, we've had the one increase back in 2017, about a 4.3% increase. Now, your board of directors, as we look forward, has already approved a general service rate increase and rate change for September of this year. Well, why September? We wanted to put the change out there far enough so we could do a really good job of communicating that well in advance for our membership. That September change is going to bring in about 5% more revenue from the members to the cooperative. We try to do a good job forecasting as well, our financial forecast, our rate forecast, and our best look at this point, based on a lot of assumptions, is we probably need another reasonable increase, probably out in that 2028 time frame. Just trying to give you a feel for what the projection looks like. So, you hear a lot on the news, 10%, 20% type increases here and there. And that's not really us. It's much less than that for us. Also want to just reiterate something Sid mentioned. One of the reasons we've enjoyed that rate stability is the new things that we're doing to add value to your membership in Lake Region Electric. Here's the wind solar project we did. It helps us reduce our wholesale power costs from Great River Energy. The natural gas company there been a great success. Not only does that also reduces our operating costs, because we can take fixed costs of Lake Region Electric, allocate those into the natural gas company, and recover some of those costs to the ratepayers of the gas company. It also creates a new revenue stream for Lake Region, and anytime we can create a new revenue stream or reduce a cost, that's one less dollar that the board has to build into your electric rate. Our generator program, another big success, over 400 residential generators out there on our system that we've sold, installed, and maintained. And then the investment in Cars Tree Service. As an owner of Cars Tree Service, when they have financial success, we share in that, we get a dividend. Again, that's dollars coming into the co-op that doesn't have to show up in your rates. So let's talk about why the cost of electricity is going up. I think the why is so important. The main reason why the cost of electricity is going up around the country is the higher natural gas prices. This blue line here shows the run-up in costs the last 2-3 years. Back in 2020, for example, gas was at that $2, and natural gas was at the $2.39 per MMBTU level. Wow, it shot up quickly to Today, it's around that $5.66 range, over 100% increase in a really short period of time. Well, how does the price of natural gas going up affect the price of electricity going up? Well, it really drives it. A lot of electricity in our country is powered from natural gas today. That increases the wholesale cost of power at the Great River Energy level. It raises Great River Energy's cost. And when that happens, they generally eventually have to pass that back to us. We were notified in September that we were going to be seeing a rate increase from Great River Energy effective January 1st here in 2023. And so we've taken that information and worked through that to come up with the rate changes that we need to make here in 2023. The other thing, probably a real big shock, everything's gone up so much, but for us, transformers has been a big one. A transformer that just a couple of years ago was about $1,100 is now about $2,100. Again, nearly a 100% increase in a relatively short period of time. So again, why? Why are we changing our rates in September of 2023? The first reason is because the wholesale cost of power that we have to pay to Great River Energy is increasing, and so we need to pass that through and collect about 5% more revenue in order to maintain our financial strength and meet all the mortgage requirements and debt covenants with our lenders. The second reason is so the higher monthly facility charge in the new rates structure that members will pay starting in September will match the cost of providing the electric service territory, or think of our infrastructure that it takes to provide that electricity to your house. So when you get home from this district meeting and you walk in and you turn that switch on, all that infrastructure that it takes for you to have electricity flow to your house. The third reason is so the lower energy rate that you will be paying under the new rate structure, yes, lower energy rate you will be paying under the new rate structure will more closely align with the cost of providing the actual electricity that flows to your home. Here are the actual residential rates that will, again, go effect later this year. Current rate is $24 for the facility charge. That's going to $39. We've done a cost of service study. We hire a rate consultant to do that for us. The engineer that did the work for us, she's a member of Lake Region Electric Cooperative. And what that study shows is that cost to provide that basic infrastructure so I can flip that switch and my lights come on is $39 a month per member. And so all the board is doing is saying, if that's the cost, if it's $39 a month, we're just going to match the rate. So we're all paying the cost as members. By doing that, the energy rates here, and we have a summer and a other month's rate. The summer rate, which is currently 12.2 cents a kilowatt hour, that's going to go down to 11 cents. The other months of the year, it's currently 10.9 cents. That's going to go down to 9.6 cents per kilowatt hour. So you can probably see how this impacts you is going to depend on how much electricity you actually use. And we've got some good examples of that for you. So let's talk a little bit more about what a monthly facility charge is. Let's take a look at what it takes for that power to flow to your house, all that infrastructure. For example, let's start back at our substation. A substation is well over $1 million. From the substation, it takes those poles and wires to carry that power to your house. We have members that are 10, 12, 13, 14 miles from the substation. Each mile can cost around $60,000 to $90,000, depending on what type of power line it is, whether it's single phase or three phase. It takes a lot of expensive equipment. A bucket truck today, one bucket truck today is well over $200,000. That's really good equipment that our linemen need to do the operations and maintenance of your grid. Of course, it takes a transformer there. A transformer is about $2,100, and a meter, a couple of $100. So again, what we've done is this cost of service study that is now completed. It shows that that monthly facility charge should be $39, and the board is just matching that cost with the rate. Here's one of the comments we get in our members survey. It says, our rates are too high compared to town residents. The fundamental reason why electricity is going to generally be higher or more expensive in the rural area is because it takes so much expensive infrastructure to serve so few customers across a very large area in those rural areas. Hopefully these pictures kind of paint that story for you. this beautiful rural country setting, as you go down that road, driving along that road, what do you see? You see a lot of poles, a lot of wire, a lot of infrastructure for that electricity, and you see a few houses along the way. Compare that to the other picture. That's a town setting. What do you see there? You see a lot of houses close together. You only see one pole in that picture. That's really the difference. So Xcel Energy, for example, compared to Lake Region, we only have 5 customers per mile of line. Xcel Energy has 46. And I like to use my handy-dandy wires to demonstrate this point a little further. Imagine with me that this wire right here, that represents 1 mile of Lake Region electric power line. If you can see those pieces of tape that are wrapped on there, there's only 5 pieces of tape on there. That represents the 5 customers of Lake Region for every 1 mile of power line that we have. So think of the cost of building that power line and everything it takes, and we only have 5 customers along that line to recover those costs. Now let's compare that to this other wire. And again, pretend with me, this is 1 mile of Xcel Energy's power line. And oh, by the way, 85 years ago, when the pioneers of this co-op formed this organization, Xcel wasn't willing to serve the rural areas. That's why Lake Region was formed. They have 46 customers per mile of line. So they can spread their cost of that mile over 46 customers. Well, we only have 5. So again, back to the rate structure. With only 5 customers per mile, we charge 39, or we'll start charging 39, where Xcel only needs to charge $8 to recover their cost. If you're curious, this chart shows how our $39 compares to other utilities in Minnesota. The ones that are lower, down in that $8 range, are the Xcel Energies, the Minnesota Powers, the large investor-owned utilities, as well as municipals who only serve towns. From here, that direction are all co-ops, and you can see that it's higher because we serve the rural area. We're somewhat in the middle of the co-op range. Some of those facility charges are as high as $51. So, talked about a lot of things with this rate change. We talked about the why. Why is electricity going up? Natural gas prices are going up, transformer costs, etc. Inflation, that's one of the main drivers. We've talked about the rate structure change with this facility charge going up and your energy charge actually going down. Well, what does that mean to us? How does it affect us as individual members? Here's just 3 examples. If you don't use a lot of electricity, let's say you only use 500 kilowatt hours for the month here, with that increase in the facility charge and the lower energy rate, your impact is going to be about $8.50 per month. Now, if you use 1,000 kilowatt hours, a little bigger user, you're only going to see about a $2 per month increase. Now, if you're a larger user, 2,000 kilowatt hours a month, you can see there, that's an $11 decrease. Again, facility charge going up, energy rate going down, and so it's your impact is very determined by the amount of electricity that you're going to use. I hope you had a chance to visit our rate booth as you came in. We've got employees there. They can actually run a bill calc for you. We've got a nice little program now where quickly they can provide you a printout of your actual impact, doing a bill calc on your current rates for you and comparing that to the new rates that will go into effect in September to give you your individual situation so you know exactly how this will impact you. If you have specific questions, we've got employees there that can answer your questions. Please stop by the rate booth if that is something you're interested in. As Sid mentioned, we also increased the load management rates effective January 1st of this year. The dual fuel program is our big one. That was the first rate increase we've had since 2008, so we've done a really good job of keeping that one stable. An average dual fuel user will see about approximately a $14 per month increase during the heating months from November through March. We compare that very closely to propane. With this increase on the electric side, it's still going to be less expensive than propane. Shifting gears a little bit to our financial picture for 2022, somewhat of an interesting year, a different year for us, a good year, good revenue, $55 million. As Sid mentioned, we do a really good job trying to manage our controllable expenses for you. We did have, as some of you may know, we had a lot of storms last summer, about 4 or 5 fairly significant storms, and that's very expensive. All that repair work that needs to be done, about $500,000 worth of damage, and that's reflected in here, so that drove down our margin a little bit. We estimate here for the consolidated financial statement, which is both electric and gas, we're estimating our year-end financial will look like we'll have a total margin of in that $3.3 million range. We don't have December closed out, so we don't know the actual yet. So this is estimated, but still a good year. And if you look at that, how that affects our balance sheet with the $3 million margin, it continues to increase our equity. You can see the transformation of the financial balance sheet of the co-op over the years. $68 million estimated here at year end. A really, really good financial position for your cooperative. Clicker's giving me trouble. There we go. With the strong balance sheet, your board of directors, again, last fall, made the decision to retire capital credits back to the members. In 2022, we paid out $1.8 million back to the membership. That gets that capital credit rotation down to 17 years. Used to be a lot higher. That now comes back to the members in 3 different ways, from Lake Region, from Great River Energy, and also from CFC. That might be a new term to you. CFC is one of our lenders, one of our bankers. They are a cooperative like we are. They are 100% owned by American Electric Cooperatives. So their margins or profits, they're allocated back to us, and we eventually allocate those back to the members as well. With this large capital credit retirement again, that is now the 10th consecutive year of record capital retirements paid back to our membership. Almost $35 million in total paid back to the membership since we started in 1958. As a co-op, we say often that we're in the people business because we are. Anything we can do to help people, that's a wonderful thing. One of those programs is our Operation Roundup program. If you're not familiar with our Operation Roundup, here's how it works. We as members can simply round up our power bill each month to the next dollar. So on average, it's 50 cents per month. That small change goes into the Operation Roundup Fund. Volunteers from across the Lake Region membership sit on the Lake Region Operation Roundup Board of Directors, and they decide where those dollars are paid out to local organizations and entities in our service territory. That small change really does make a big impact. These are just 3 of many examples of where those dollars have gone to in the last year or so. The Dunn Villa Shooting Club is a good example. The Kids Quilt Camp near Henning, as well as the East Otter Tail 4-H Club. Just wonderful organizations around our territory that we can contribute to. We've paid out now over $500,000 since this was started back in 2007. It's really been a good thing. It's wonderful to help people. In closing, I just want to say that as member owners of Lake Region, that you feel like your organization is committed to serving you. If there's a moment when you don't feel that way, please contact us. Please let us know. Contact me, contact your board, contact our office, contact our employees. We are here to serve you. You are the owners. We are the servants. We are here to serve you, and we're going to keep working hard to do that. So thank you so much for being here this morning. At this time, if you'd like, we'd love to entertain some questions. We'll first take them from the floor, and then if we have any chat questions, let me know, Greg. So any questions at this time? I got a question for you. I'll prime the pump. How's that? Can I ask you this question? This rate issue, it's a big deal for us. We've stressed a lot about it, haven't we? Worked hard on it. Your board of directors has debated this for months and months and months. We've got this cost of service study, went through it. We've spent a lot of time on it. And any feedback on it, I know your board of directors would love to hear that feedback. So if you have any thoughts, questions along the rate, we would love to hear that. Other than that, I got to take at least one question. We got Al here and Paul here with mics. Any comments, questions? If not, thanks again. Appreciate it very much. Yes, Bill.
On your outage rates, you report that it's,
Yes,
I
sir.
believe it was 1.8
Yes,
hours
yes.
average.
Yes.
Have you tracked what maximum outage rates have been for customers, and is that also trending downwards?
Yeah, maximum. Say it again, Bill. Maximum.
So, like Stocker Lake, there were people out of power for 48 to 72 hours.
Yes.
That's a long ways from the 1.8
Yeah.
average.
Yep, so that chart that I showed, that does not include transmission outages. So if GRE or the transmission grid goes down, these are just the local numbers. And then if there's an extreme storm, like the ones last summer, they are not in those areas either. So this is more the numbers that we have, somewhat control over and things we can do to improve versus the transmission or those extreme storms. If those extreme storm numbers were in here, they'd be a lot higher, and they haven't been in there, over the years. It's to measure ourselves of what we kind of control, if that makes sense, how we can get better at what we somewhat control. Does that answer that, Bill?
Well, it answers that they're not in there, so.
Yes, they're not in there.
Yeah, if I can ask another question.
Sure.
The AI dash technology.
Yeah.
So as I understand it, what you're saying is it will monitor your right-of-way
Yes.
clearances. Can it detect vegetation health? Can it detect a disease?
That's a great question. I'm going to call on some help here. I believe the answer is yes, but Al, Dylan, Paul, I think you can answer that much better than I can.
I'll throw first, and these guys. So the technology, it's using satellite imagery, but it's actually going back in time, pulling old satellite imagery, so it's looking at growth rates in these areas, not just where we are today, from what the satellite sees, but what was it last year, the year before? So what rate is it growing, what rate is it starting to encroach on our lines? So we know the type of species that are there, what the rate is, how fast we need to get to certain sections to keep it out of the right of way. To some extent, I believe there is some help.
Absolutely, and I'm gonna use the wrong term, but the chloroform, that it can look at the tree and see the health of that tree through
Can you use the mic, Paul?
chloroform, whatever the term is there for that, the health of that leaf. So yes, they can look at the health of the tree and monitor that.
Bill, if I may add, just what we used to do about, 12, 13, 14 years ago with our first comprehensive vegetation management program, we did data sampling where people actually, drove out in the field and looked along the lines so this is really a game changer for us. It's going to be a more efficient way to collect the right information we need and additional information as well. You got it.
You reported on the gas turbines that GRE owns and operates,
Yes.
and to my knowledge, those are all simple cycle gas turbines.
I believe that's correct.
Do you know if they have any plans to convert any of those up to combined cycle and gain efficiencies? And
I don't believe so.
okay, which would make them more like a replacement for a coal plant then.
Right. Yep, they're needed for those peak times.
Okay.
They don't run very often, but on those cold days, on those hot days when the peak really ramps, that's when they run. They're not designed to run, 24/7.
Okay, thank you.
Great questions, thank you. All right. That's singing it. Yes, one more.
Have we had any vandalism on any of our projects or substations? And do we have concerns about that?
Fortunately, we haven't had any vandalism like we're seeing across our country right now. The specific vandalism that I'm referring to, where we're reading in North Carolina and state of Washington and other places, people are shooting substations to cause these major outages. We haven't seen that. Are we concerned about it? Absolutely. Are we studying it? Absolutely. There's conference calls we've joined where the utility that experienced this, the FBI, federal organizations, it's just a really big topic right now, as you can imagine. So, what are the things we could do to prevent that? It's a complicated answer. Do we somebody said put sandbags around your substations, high resolution cameras, those types of things are, I guess, maybe the main ones that are being talked about right now. But, yeah, it's very concerning, very disturbing that's happening in our country. I was reading, I think just yesterday, the one in Washington State, four people were involved in that one. And what I understood from the article I read was they did it to knock the power out to this area, and then they burglarized a place. I don't know. Do we need a community watch program? What is it? It's going to be challenging, isn't it? I'm just being honest. It's going to be challenging. If somebody wants to do something like that, it's going to be tough. Yeah, who would have thought? Yes, sir.
And speaking of the wind generation, you put a number on capacity, 400,000 or whatever the number was
Yes.
against a wind. And how is that calculated when sometimes the wind blows and
Right.
sometimes it
Great
does
question.
not?
Yeah. You think about the challenge of renewable energy, wind and solar is obviously the wind doesn't only blow, the sun doesn't only shine. So we talk about 400 megawatts of capacity. That's the capacity. That doesn't mean you're going to be getting that all the time. So there's that intermittent variable piece, and that's why having things like the natural gas peakers that can start quickly are helpful to us. But yeah, we like renewable energy. It's cleaner, but there's some real concerns about it in terms of the reliability and the intermittency of that. And that's why it's so important that the technology continues to develop. So maybe whether it's battery storage or other ways to store electricity, that needs to develop quickly, before we go too far with that, right? We've got to have the reliability. I hope everybody's on that page that we need reliability in the climate that we live in. We absolutely do. Yeah. Well, thank you for the questions. I appreciate it. One more? All right.
Has the amount of time that you control machinery that's on off-peak gone up or down?
Great question. It's going up. Yeah. Steve, can you help me out with that and elaborate on that? Did you hear the question, Steve? The control hours? That's a great question. If I could maybe add on to it a little bit. One of the strengths of Lake Region Electric is our member engagement. And we have, of all of our members, it's somewhere around 50%, right, of our members are part of one of our many load management programs. And that really saves us as a cooperative a good bit of money. And so when you look at the statistics on how our costs at Lake Region compare to other cooperatives that are part of the GRE family, because we've worked so well together and because we have a tremendous energy services team that works with our members to create these programs, our average cost on our wholesale rate is quite a bit less than most. And that, again, that's just another great example I want to point out of how a local co-op working with its members can do a lot of innovative and things to save money. So we really appreciate everybody that's part of those off-peak programs. They're really important. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch gear and go to the gas business.
Yeah.
To me, it seems like a gas business is a finite business in today's world, that there's gonna be an end to when we can sell gas. Have you studied where the crossover point is, where it makes sense to say we can't make investments in infrastructure anymore because we'll never recover the cost of that infrastructure, or is there something beyond natural gas that we'll be able to use that infrastructure for?
Yeah, good question. I think our gas company, I'll describe it just a little bit. We have about 1,100 customers. We started it from scratch back in 2017. We've brought natural gas for the first time to some small towns and in rural areas, a few lakes areas where there's enough customers to justify the investment. So it's a really small natural gas company. The reality for us is there's probably not going to be, I mean, there's just not a lot of big markets to go to. We're, you know, kind of like on the electric side, we're filling in where others maybe didn't want to make the investment, and it's a very, you know, frankly, it's a low rate of return compared to what the larger gas companies have done. As far as getting to the supply of natural gas, do we know exactly when that there might be some change? The answer is no. You know, there are things on the gas side too that, you know, we're reading about and starting to study where there's, you know, can be some cleaner options for natural gas as well. And but you know, if you're thinking about, you know, is fracking going to end anytime soon and those types of things, yeah, that's a real you know, something we've got to figure out as a nation here going forward. Where is our energy supply going to come from? So yeah, good questions. All right. Yes.
Mine is not a question, mine is a thank you to the REA for what they did for my church. I do it from the struck by lightning, on June 6th of 1 time. And we were fortunate enough to have a neighbor who is an electrician, so I mean, he came quickly and stuff, but I mean, I'm amazed at how quickly the service guys were there. And I was in a state of shock, and
Oh.
I was without electricity because I'm right across the road. And I mean, they said, well, we got somebody else to go to, so we'll come back again. And I had service that night. I mean, so
Wow.
thank you.
Well, the guy sitting in the back of the room back here did it. So thank you. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Be available online soon.
Yeah, we'll put it on our website and that type of thing. Yeah, you bet. You bet. You know, can I just pick up on the thank you? You know, again, we're different. We're unique. We're a co-op. And when I talk about a member engagement this summer, we had to decide where we're going to go have these appetizers and chats and things with our members. And we said, hey, let's go to Stocker Lake. This is like, I don't know, a few weeks after all these storms that you're talking, and Stocker Lake was kind of the epicenter of that, wasn't it? It was a war zone. I don't know if y'all maybe live in that area or saw it. I mean, the first thing that had to be done is trees had to be cleared out of the roadway just to get our equipment into it. And so we thought, you know what? Let's go down and invite members in to the little, to the golf course there at Stocker Lake. And we didn't know what the member reaction was going to be. We're coming off multi-day outage, right? Well, that's where we wanted to go. And you know what that turned into? Those kind of stories. It's just awesome. And these guys, I mean, our linemen and others, all of us, but man, to watch them work and amazing job they do, we can't thank them enough. So, awesome. All righty. How we doing? One more? Hey, I got all day. So,
Can you comment on the life expectancy of the wind generators and the
Yes.
solar panels?
absolutely. So we've got a little experience of our own with both wind and solar. Not a long history yet. Things are always getting better, so this will probably get better. But like our wind turbine, we don't own the wind turbine. That's owned by Joule Energy. And we just simply buy that electricity out of whatever's produced, we buy at a contracted rate. And it's a nice low rate for us, so we don't have the risk of the maintenance or the ownership or anything like that. We signed a 20-year agreement with a 5-year extension if we want to do that. And that was, a few years ago already, but when we analyzed it at that time, that 20 years seemed to be a good time frame for us in terms of the productivity of that and giving us a little extra extension if we need it. So I think does that help give you a little feel for that? The solar is about the same. The solar that we've built, I'm thinking of our community solar, that was structured around a 20-year agreement as well.
I was asking, how
Yep. They have a slight degradation each year. I don't know, maybe Steve, you can give a better definition of that, but, you know, it's gonna degrade a little bit. And, you know, out in that 20-some years is probably a reasonable number.
Yeah, what we're seeing on solar panels is most of them have a 20-year warranty on them, but they do have a projected, like Tim was saying, degradation, you know, just with buildup on the film. You know, if you keep them clean, they're gonna actually produce a little bit more, but there will be a little bit. They usually say about 3/4 of a percent the first year, and then slightly, a little bit more slightly each year.
Yes.
Generators?
Yes.
Over the last 5 or 10 years, they've been repowering
Yes.
old wind farms. And when they do that, putting the same size generator up, but with the newer technologies, they gain about 25% energy output annually. So, yes, they have a 20-year lifespan, but when they repower them, they're actually making gains. I think we had some.
Yes.
I have been, for a long time, concerned with excessive light pollution, as I
Yes,
spoke with
yes.
Tim about earlier, and I wonder, does anybody else share my concerns? I would recommend that you all see a video titled Ambassadors of the Sky. Very interesting.
Get that, Greg? Ambassadors of the Sky. Okay. Yeah, that's a good comment. One of the things that we've done with like our beach roads and street lighting and those types of things, we were somewhat of an early adopter of the newer technology that has the more, you know, it takes the light down where we need it, not into the sky. That helps with that issue some. But yeah. Thanks for the comment. Okay, are we done? One more, Richard.
Have they, how are they coming on figuring out a way to recycle the blades on the old wind generators? I understand they're
Yeah.
not going very well
Yeah,
yet.
I don't know of anything major on the front there. Does anybody else? It's going to be a real challenge to recycle that, but that's the goal. Yeah.
Nuclear facilities? I mean, they're being stored somewhere?
Yeah.
I'm just curious, totally switching gears. How many people, by show of hands, realized in the November bill that it was because the capital credits were actually applied and it wasn't because they used less electricity than they did 1 year ago?
That's a great comment.
I mean, because
Did you know?
we had the discussion when I was on the board
Yes.
about the cost of mailing out the checks.
Yep.
And obviously they changed them. I'm just curious, how many people realize that's what happened?
Would you mind doing the hand thing again? It?
The credits being applied? Great.
You know, that's one of the many things at Lake Region, and over the last, you know, several years, we've changed because of efficiency and lower cost. Man, I'd prefer you'd get a check because it seems like it means maybe a little more, but it's so much more efficient, and the time it takes to process all those checks. I hope that makes sense to you. We want to keep your costs as low as we can. Yeah. All right. Is that a good one to close on? Okay. Thank you very much.
Presentation. Hopefully, you are more trustworthy of your electric cooperative and appreciate the electric service that we each get. You can see these decisions that he talked about all cost money. They don't come easy, and we do spend a lot of time in the boardroom talking about them and weighing pros and cons and payback and what have you. It's a business, but it's a good business. I've been proud to be part of it. And there's one group here we haven't recognized that I'd like to just take a little time. You know, if we don't have employees, we don't have an organization. And I've been watching these employees as they work as a team. and just get things done. There are employees here that are here to serve each of us, thinking, and I used to work for Otter Tail Power years ago. You don't see this with Otter Tail Power customers because they're not owners. It's the investors that owned Otter Tail. So the cooperative business is unique, and been proud to be part of it. I want to have the employees, maybe you could stand or something, and we could just show appreciation for them, okay? So, yeah. A good representation, and at the same time, there are employees back at the office taking care of customer needs. So, thanks to Chad also for chairing the nomination process. I want to congratulate Jim on nomination. I wish you well as you seek the board seat. And before we leave, I want to remind you that annual meeting, April 13th at 6:30, Life Church. I will be active board member until then. That's the vote, and so I will be fully retired and enjoying that. Also at the Frazee Event Center and the Prairie Event Center in Parker's Prairie. So we'll also be live streaming the annual meeting for those of you who cannot attend one of the 3 locations. I hope you all can make it in person. If not, please live stream the event to stay engaged with your cooperative. But you have to fix your own dinner if you live stream. So, you know, it pays to come to the meeting and be there in person and see real live faces. I again want to thank you for support you've given me over the last 15 years, and I wish Lake Region the best. Thank you much for coming.